Díomh agus fáilte romh go Scríobh. Scríobh is a new digital Irish language festival from Access Ballymun, celebrating theatre and the artists who work within it. Le sceideal línte le cainteanna neamhfhoirmiúla, cruinnithec cómhráite, léiriú láimhe, léitheoireacht agus níos mó fáil ó ealíontóirí den scoth. There are events happening on the Access website and social media all throughout the week and into next week, so please do be sure to check accessballymun.ie for up-to-date information on what's happening. We have a whole schedule of talks, events and ways for you to get involved, and we want to hear from you too. So let the whole Big Elin le haid Scríobh fehas fehain. Díomh agus fáilte romh, gur maithfidh as bhealinn le haid Scríobh. Tá muid arás arís le painéal eile agus aniu tá muid ag phlé an bhfuil sé riamh Rómhall or Rómhall le Gaeilge déineach. Is it ever too late to learn Irish? A lot of people are feeling very inspired right now. There's been a big buzz. Go háirithe de bhar Roxanna agus scanán iontóirí.
Yeah.
So loads of people are saying, I wish I did learn Irish, and today we're going to talk about that. This panel, if you're joining us and watching, is Dáithán it's bilingual, so Ballymun in Gaeilge agus in Maryland. If you don't have any Irish, you're absolutely welcome to stay and chat and listen, but if you do have Irish, you'll hear it here, and if you don't, we'll still be encouraging you to learn it. So Rocky may go toppy timple on grúpa. Aifric Ní Ruairc is anam dom agus Tom ag obras an Access. So Tom Misha ag mar cohort the hor on na Tronscanmh agus Ibrahim lesh on Changa Gaeilge in Access. Agus lum and new we have Pat McGrath. Pat, you're an Astor, agus an ealíontóirí.
Sure.
Agus you're also an Irish speaker, not that?
Yeah, on Quidditch mode until yeah.
Yeah, and come on, listen, we have Roxanna Nic Liam. Roxanna is big right now. Is Astor, is Scríobh is féile, agus fhui láthair tá scanán siúcra just blowing up. Roxanna, you're the exception here in the group because you learned from a younger age. Mar is de vrastal tú Gael scolach. Tá muid fós ag fálam an tamar fad. We're all still learning, aren't we?
Yeah, like ní mohím go mé lífa like corbe. Agus like yeah, cúg mi mé ag leabhart é gach lá ar go daoí ag bliain agus house like an bhfuil go leir le fálam agam agus yeah, tá ag fás agus ag ferbert gach lá.
Fás agus ferbert. To Joey Kavanagh link coma. Joey does ag fálam an Gaeilge comán ar hánig tú arás ó London ví tú a comí sa Bratin agus an sin ag oberlumsa chumar tú sa crash test kaint mar bhí mar géirí sais cracking bheith ag gwyn agus muid ag úsad in Gaeilge. So you're still learning as well and you want Irish to kind of be fun and interesting and
yeah, Tá fóstig fém agus I suppose I really believe in the importance of making Irish accessible. I think Roxanna's Fishon did an amazing job of doing that, and just seeing the reach that's had already in the last few days is incredible, and it's a really exciting time I think for Anchanga and all the different people who are emerging, like the musicians, like we mentioned the other night, Kneecap and all these exciting voices that are coming through in Irish and poetry, like Ciara Ní and Roxanna as well. So it's yeah, so it's ta sketchamini we heard from sketchamini the other day, but ta sketchamini Madra leis on tebki on Anchanga.
Agus cumá tá Sian Ní Mhuirí gwen an seo. Sian, tusig fel anum an Gaeilge a cumá leis in tatú felim Changa eile ví tú gubar le Maori cumá nach rá.
Yeah, bhí mé, so is as bailíoch Liam mé ach is as níos héile ní mhuathair. So cá mé tréimh sa tír seo agus bhí mé ag obair le cólacht dúchais in níos héile. I was working with the indigenous company over there. Agus so much fósa go obair le chéile Píos Airclinne. We're working on a trilingual comedy together called Perohi. which means the rose. So hopefully it's going to be a trilingual comedy set during, I mean, I can't name the pageant that could happen in Kerry in Ackalishan Gaeilge, you know, where you have to perform your identity and all that sort of jazz. I couldn't possibly give it a name, but, you know, presented by a bilingual weatherman, you get the gist. So yeah, Vime in Nua Agus Fa Beidir Sé Mi Vime Foghlaim Treo Mori on Changa Duchas in Nua So look, on Quidgis Mo or to Darmid Dainte go mar an Quidgis Mo than Changa mar Beidir Fog me Nua Héilean Govilas update. Tom Fos the Jaguar leis na cómhráite agus ag daoine I'm still trying to do little bits to keep it up, because it's like a muscle that you kind of lose if you don't flex it, which is kind of what happened to Irish originally. I think with me, I was living in London as well. I studied in London, so we kind of Gaeilge mágum rééis an Monscoil an sin bí mé in London ar fad Beidir ceithre bliain. And after that I was like, well, it's all gone now, so time to start again.
Changa na Maori ag do wather.
No, so like it's us on Ilan. Oh gosh, this is one of the stumbling blocks now for learners. North, south, east, west, up and down, and every possible, and all in níos and blah blah blah. And Ilan has Ilan Desh, nah. The Deshkart, and she's from the South Island, is what I'm trying to say. And it's us, you know, it's us Alban either Sheenshire. So like her ancestors would have been from European. She's Paki, as they'd say over there. So she doesn't have any of it. She doesn't have any Irish either, even though my dad would have some Irish and stuff. So just Vime Bain of Conioch, Crohoch, Sanilonella. I was doing a creative residency in the North Island in a rural community. And that's where I kind of started learning it there. So yeah, so it's funny. The connection isn't the connection to New Zealand through my mum. That's what brought me out there. But the connection to the Maori community was them being interested in minority speakers in other countries. And they're developing a network of Indigenous theatre venues or Indigenous language venues and stuff like that around the world. So that was there. It's weird. I was there because my mum's from New Zealand, but the tie was through Irishness and the Irish language, really.
Agus an sin ar deir tá Mark O'Brien an shot linn sé stir her access in Mark agus tá Mark tá tusa ag fan an Gaeilge faoi láthair nach bhfuil.
Yeah, and I feel like the interloper here. It's funny, I understand probably 85% of all your conversation there when you're speaking in Irish, but I can't speak it. And I suppose for me, from working here over the last many years, like to say Ray Yates before me was a Gaeilgeoir, or is a Gaeilgeoir, and Niamh and yourself are Gaeilgeoirs. So it would have been around me. And I found myself actually understanding all the conversations that were going on around me. Little did they know. But in the last couple of years, particularly the last year, I really noticed that I understand it. And there's something guttural about that goes beyond language, without sounding arsey, but that goes beyond. It's kind of musical, kind of, and I want to figure that out. So I'm kind of it's kind of baby steps. I'm doing DL Duolingo at the moment. I'm taking baby steps into kind of trying conversationally with my family who thankfully don't know anything, so I can sound amazing. But yeah, I'm interested in, I suppose I'm interested in what Roxanna has done with Scríobh, and I'm also very interested in what Moncon is doing around. That's the bit that really interests me, the kind of the Irish language and not heritage, but that kind of, you know, placement of actually in a way like Australians, like like song lines and kind of people singing their land into existence. And I think that has a huge place in the Irish language. So that's the way I'm going in. The hard work is the bit I'm trying to avoid.
Yeah, stop. It's the language thing, right? You know, when you're sort of like, what am I interested in? I'm interested in identity, in talún, in filiocht agus drámaíochta. And then my teacher's like, learn these verbs. I'm like, no. They're like, how come you don't understand basic grammar? I was like, oh, stop.
Well,
like I'm trying to channel my ancestors. Stop talking to me about grammar. Jesus.
like obviously near tatu sabun school tatu ag féile like you're gone like burla like what's a verb, what's a noun. Ach fi meg leabhart le machara inniu free like so mo her Neil ein Gaeilge aki like dashi suas in London agus hanga she godi Erin or vi she like carjeg so ní raibh or he Gaeilge yen so Neil even on bun like oh will catch come through letters like even the ruddy shim agus like agus gachtain like tamwijna like teamful Gaeilge an tamar fab mat Dwayne Lewis like Margan na Ferma agus mar sinnde so is múntar I mhuir agus múnan si burla godi dina gan burla so tá ana urhi burla like ishli nachwil agamsa like I couldn't tell you what a past participle is like but you know what I mean like I was really like in asperla like Norderm like I saw the big blue bus. Big always comes before bus, and that is based on grammar. That is a grammatic rule that we don't know. I couldn't tell you even the name of it, but that is like the order in which we put our verbs is so known to us. Agus le Gaeilge, like spoiler for Scríobh if you haven't seen it, but sin on like pointe really is a tashe unan like it's within us, and it's so like we're speaking about this earlier on as well, Joey and Aifric like it and slí léiriú we'd like say Imalia Cléberle I do be like sin a Gaeilge I do be being me agus Neil she shouldn't like we don't say that in English, they say it in other languages. You know like I'm after telling her that I'm not doing it. I'm after going to the shops tugging she sin as Gaeilge so sin an rud like capan tú go bhfuil an obair Jackar Asian ealum agus like isli taught Neil Shay on over Jacker is Asian on over ladronic like Neil like I've seen a few tweets that are just like you know like it's like if I'm not instantly good at something the first time I do it like I'm not doing like an instrument you're just like I've practiced like 3 times why haven't I good like I was chin on road like Captain Mark will on road is Jacker na like Dorina Bader a will like chopkity air in ish agus Neil on star shin agus on kind of agus on Kiangle shin is ishli Kaine agus so Cahamid Kai vet nice kind of accessible the Gaeilge so that everyone does feel that love and that gra and even like I was on Twitter earlier on talking to someone about who wants to make it more accessible to people in working class areas, and that is my dream and my goal. And I can't remember who I've said what to, but as well yesterday I was saying I think at the cómhráite as well that nuair bhí mise ag fásta níor aithnig agam aon duine like in the inner city Lorna Cómhráite níor aithnig agam aon duine le Gaeilge ní raibh sé ag mo histí ní raibh sé ag mo aon duine mo chlán na chairde my neighbours so it was quite alien to me in loads of ways, you know, that kind of way that was like I had this thing and I was like I don't know what to do with it like, and it's always been a privilege to speak Irish, but on Rudis Jackrana the fubble went to mock, does that make sense? Yeah, so yeah. Don't know what point was.
I agree. Agus ceiste gom díobh, right? So me shall say something plan. I love this conversation. It's already started. I haven't asked any questions. But then on will grammar talk, is grammar important if you're trying to learn, or should you just get in and give it a go? Like on will Dini row ogluk Fuin gramadach agus an sin ní dhéanann siad iireach like an bhfuil sé mar dearn siad is fearr Gaeilge Bristol ná Béarla Cliste ach cad a ceapann.
Yeah, I suppose like Níl sé ro tábhacht agus sin é an swinmh maidir le crash test caint, so like the idea, even the name crash test caint, it's about trying things, kind of buin trílas. And what I like about that event, I mean, hopefully we'll be able to gather in the Access Cafe again, Galua, and have more of the in-person events. but like we kind of crowdsource the words, and there's no judgment. And if someone can ask for a word, what's the word for ask, or and someone might have it, and within the room we might have it, and then we crowdsource it, and then the person continues on. And there's hopefully there's no kind of self-consciousness in about cibé level leibhéal Gaeilge atá agat. So I think it is an important thing, and I suppose Roxanna has a very funny bit in her film, spoilers if you haven't seen it, about the kind of the Tischel Ginnedoch, and that is something that's a little bit difficult. I remember being in school and Tischel Ginnedoch blew my mind, because there was no kind of equivalent in English where the context of where you're saying the words changes the spelling of the word, and because it's in English the words are fairly constant, I suppose, in terms of how you spell them. And so it's only now, I think, even really as an adult, I kind of have a better grasp of what the Tischel Ginnedoch is and why it caused such hell for us all in school. But I'm sure to lots of people it is important, but I mean there's nothing worse than saying something an Albert Gaeilge and having someone kind of give you a cartu straight away, and kind of diminishing your confidence, and then you might be less inclined to kind of try out your cúpla focal again the next time if someone is straight in there with the correction.
Yeah, tá an rud céine an Merle an Idirlín, there's always someone ready to correct your grammar and your spelling. It's horrible and
so boring. Really lazy,
yeah, I agree. And Roxanna, Neil our Gaeilge, or Neil our Béarla, Furfa, our English isn't perfect in the first place. We don't understand English grammar. It is usual, but a lot of it isn't. And if you think of the conditional tense that we all have problems with in Irish, dá moving on lotto, go, people really struggle with that. How many people have you seen who can't tell the difference between would of and would have? They write of instead of have, and that's the conditional tense in English. They don't quite get it, but it doesn't stop people speaking English. We get that kind of insecurity. So on Príomhceist then, on bhfuil sé riamh Ródéanach Gaeilge ealaím. I mean, as the group of seo, Hussy got daoine ag féile ag ísina difriúil. We've all started learning at different ages and for different reasons. Actually, a lot of you, looking nearly 3 of you were in London. And obviously, that kind of having your Irish language is important to your identity when you're abroad. I'm sure there's a lot of other people who are right now watching who live in different countries who feel that way. But is it ever too late to learn Gaeilge?
Yeah. No,
stop now. It depends. I think the main thing, agus tá sé sin like to baint leis an grama and ceist the gramadach freshen. I think the main thing that I always just say when I talk to people is like, be really clear about your goal, your overall goal, and then your mini goals on the way. Because like, I feel that a lot of people in Ireland, like when they think, I'd love to be good at Irish. She gets all the time, Roxanne, right? That people are like, oh God, I'd love to have a bit of Irish myself. And they, when do they feel that? I suppose you feel that when you, like the example I'd always have in my mind is like when you're on holiday in Spain, right? You're on a weekend in Barcelona and people are like, yes, we speak Catalan here. And you're like, oh, that's great. And they're like, do you speak your own language? And you're like, a little bit, yes, I can say 1 or 2 things. It's like, it's kind of this shame that we have that we're not better connected to our history, right? And shame is not a good motivator. Shame is not a good, on its own, shame is a really crap motivator. It won't keep you going through lesson after lesson, because really language learning is like brain soaking. It's like tumidicus. You've got to really and that's why people can understand. I'm the same, Mark. Like my level of understanding of Irish is always way higher than my ability to speak it. And I'm pretty fluent in terms, like almost totally fluent in terms of understanding, but the block is still with getting that down to, using it. But, if you say like, what's my overall goal? And it's not to be the Shakespeare of Irish. It's not to be, you're not trying to be like Sean O'Weir Dún Reborn. You're trying to say, I want to have pints at the pop-up Gaeltalk with people and feel comfortable speaking it myself. That's what I want. Then that's brilliant, because you can be like, take the on pop-up Gaeltalk, because, Dain Gear course, agus Dain the Duolingo, agus and Shin, little bit by little bit, you'll build it up. And I think the idea of activities that you can share with people, community that you can share with people, because that's the richness of it. But, you know, so like, you know, Cai me an ad while Tommy Dana Corsi Crinnis in it. Like I'm doing a grammar course, maar is Scríobh nor me. So Foghlaim sa tauki vet Scríobh sa Gaeilge mar toshi shin sprit dumse, right? Foghlaim, you know, I want to know about that, and I'm getting to the point that I feel like I can listen and listen and listen, but my progress is stalled until I just break the back of a couple of concepts. But that's years down the line. At the beginning, if you're not using it and having fun, I think then you're going to run out of steam for your own journey, your own, you know, ashtar sajanga. But like, then the benefit of that is if you're setting yourself manageable goals, like I want to have a conversation with someone this month, even a real short one in Irish, then it's never too late to learn, because you know, so much of us, it's so rare in Ireland to find an absolute beginner in Irish, like you were saying, Roxanna, like we all have, most of us have some of it, you know. So it's just trying to enjoy what you have, like use it as a source of enjoyment rather than shame or expectation that you're never going to meet. And if you do that, then you absolutely, you can learn, you know, at any stage.
I think as well, there's I think there's something going on in Ireland that that the Irish language is part of, rather than it being any kind of, you know, Celtic dawn. I think in the last decade, with the arrival of a whole new generation of people from other lands to ours, but with also stuff like, you know, the couple of referendums and kind of a lot of activism and a journey away from the church and the journey away from England now kind of having gained traction. I think there's an opportunity for people to acquire Irish in a natural way, rather than something that becomes nationalistic or something that becomes, it's just an organic thing that when you get let loose from shackles, it's kind of there, you know. I suppose I remember I was in college and I studied English, and one of our lecturers, was a guy called Golden, who was a friend. He was like the sixth Monty Python. He was friends of all the Monty Python guys, but his whole thing was about English, and it was incredible listening to him talk about, like you said, Aifric, the way we structure words that don't mean anything in the English language and have great meaning here. But there's also great discussions around that we have adapted English, and that has taken the journey that actually we should have had with our own language. Do you know what I mean? So we actually spent those 300 or 400 years merging English into something more malleable for ourselves, but we were robbed of that time of developing our own language. So I think that in my school years, it was stuck between like the Sean of Whalons and the Peg, but there was no modernism. It was all retention of the pure drop.
Yeah. And
I think now it's not. Now there's kind of even in a confidence growing, the language will be fine. Irish exists in real terms. There's a kind of you know, it's a language that would exist even without people talking it, if that makes sense. It's there enough now. And I think, yeah, sorry, I'm wathering on, but I think that's what interests me, is like that, modernizing it without losing the sense of it.
No, ein team gomor laat Foghlaim and Leishlen, I find the línte Commisha Ara Gwil Mongrel Gaeilge agam. I've always said I have mongrel Irish. Das me Zeus in Wales Gulina agus Hanning the Moontory o Gach Kuaga Temple na Tira agus near Dowlam me, you know, ein size blas a one. You know, I didn't have one particular type of Irish. I'd never had, like, you know, Gaeilge Cúgamoon or, you know, Gaeilge Cúgachonach Nucabeirod. I've always had this real mix, but it became something else, and it became what I would say our Ballymun Irish. The Rastal May School on Choctor Lake in Ballymun, and in Ballymun we have two Gael schools now. We have School on Choctor Lake and Gael School Ballymun. We have School Katrina just up the road. It's Team Bala Cúnia, Tá Gael School Archon. We have a creche, which is Glorna Gael Ballymun, which actually is the same creche that I attended when it was still one of the flats in Ballymun. And it's a Ballymun Irish, and we do have a movement that we're trying to do to get a mini Gaeltacht in Ballymun, and to kind of recognise that it's a different type of Irish. It's not furfa, it's not classic cook, it's not any particular Connaught, but it is our Irish, it's Ballymun Irish, and it's exactly what you're talking about, Mark. It's that modern Irish, and for ages I would have been quite embarrassed that, oh, you know, my accent doesn't add up. But actually, if I was learning French and I still had my dub accent, nobody would say anything, you know. So becóga mit brodu a las sin. So ain't gomorlat sin, I have to say. I really agree with that.
Agus like in ein or bhí mar ag leabhart le Aoifes blan, like tugann she on a stát ainte. Like she comes from the States, agus bhí she ag leabhart as Gaeilge, agus just bhí she sin just like, oh, like it was blowing my mind, like agus tá blas aki, like she had her own accent, agus like I didn't care, I loved it actually, like agus like Des Bishop fresh and like dá sé súil is like sna stát ainte him, agus nuair léiríonn sé antanga cloisian sé cosúil Des Bishop, mar is Des Bishop like agus I think sin an rud like ní bheith níd riamh like an ola no agus like ag tógáil Gaeilge ola mar hampla like tá a Gaeilge féin acu agus níl sé an kind of an Gaeilge ifigiúil a bíon on you know the Department of Education Irish like Mochara Kieran tá sé gen masters in Gaeilge inis agus caiig tú like níl tú it now like it's to be an examiner, and he can't like when he's taking his exam, he can't use any like Irish, just like in English you wouldn't be like, OMG, this was a gorge dress, like if you were writing something ifigiúil. So caiig muid like evolve like agus part an sin ná an Gaeilge baile clé agus tágamid rudí ó gach áit agus chuirmid le chéile leis an ar slang féin ar Dublin níos féin. Like níl mé géirí dul like going on about kneecap all the time, but like tá along duine éireann faoi an slang as Gaeilge atá bell firste agus úsáid me land in you know like just like what you say, like just like again like free druggy, free canals, free ruddy well like Mark, you were talking about like being free of like the church, the kind of church and things like that, and I think that's a huge thing. It's always been a barrier to Irish in a way because it was associated with peasantry and old Ireland and you know paganism even and the old like you know the old druids and the paganism has always been an embarrassment to the church, and then you throw colonialism in there as well, and it's like that's why we're embarrassed to speak it, that's why to speak it and then to not speak it as well. There's like there's a dichotomy there, like both things exist. But then just to say before I shut up for a sec, like when we're talking about how you know about speaking it and Shan, you were saying about like what's your goal and what's, you know, just would you want to just have a few pints and have a chat or whatever. I think like it's been reminding me loads of like Alcoholics Anonymous, like Neurotaltu Marvel, Alcoholics Anonymous, Darren she'd like just for today, right? And like one day at a time. August is cliches each in, but they're cliches for a reason, because if I think now I'm never going to drink again, and think of all the festivals that are going to happen, think of Electric Picnic when it opens back up, think of this, think of that, think of like when there's a funeral, think of how am I just never going to drink again? Just kaig to meal make kunal anew, right? Just for today, don't drink, and all you have is today, so that's all you can worry about. If you start to think like, how am I ever going to be at a standard that like man Kamaganas and like all these guys, Mohi may fresh and like Neil may Leafa, like when I hear Radio Gaeilge to earn something, I'm like, I can understand every second word here. Like I generally get what they're saying, but like we aglav agam inay la BBC Gaeilge Radio Ola August Hrúbla brown arm a cog to vet ní smell ní wille brown, and she's like, she is embarrassed. She's like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Like if you were interviewing a Spanish person and you thought you're speaking too fast, because you don't patronize them, but you know, that kind of way. So tá cómhráite down. But just for today, I've learned this. Just for today, I think I might have figured out why this is in the Taoiseach. Just for today, you know, that kind of way. If we try and think of like, when are we going to be blocking it, like it overwhelms, and you go, well, I won't, so there's no point, like, you know, that kind of way.
Because that was a question I was going to ask, is when do we say we're Irish speakers? When have we reached that? When have we become Irish speakers?
I think there's kind of a myth of like on Dina Líofa, as if it's got this sort of binary thing that you attain a level of Irish and suddenly you're Líofa. And I mean, like, I suppose we speak about fluency in every language, so maybe it's not unique to Irish, but like Roxanna Nic Liam, who I suppose is a very prominent figure in kind of the Irish language community, but like Vime Cairdlan le Mancon couple shocked no hin. So I went to a workshop with Mancon, and I thought she fásta Foghlaim, like he was kind of guiding us through these different resources, these amazing online resources where you can where he seeks out new words and unusual words, and then he's recently joined Instagram and he's sharing them on there in a really beautiful way. But I think we just need to kind of go easy on ourselves, and as Roxanna says, day by day. And I do think that Duolingo is a really great way of doing it day by day. So I've been doing it since January on Duolingo. I'm probably about 3/4 of the way through, and with a good amount of hours logged. But I think you, Roxanna, you completed it, did you, last year? Or
like it was like the last level of Mario. Like it was just like Tá fáibanna gach tá fáibanna le Duolingo ach like tá sé saor an aisce, like
yeah.
Trish kind of up to me VR me canic mar because I'd run out of lives or whatever. Ach like agus I'm nish me film Germanish or be biogan Germanish school, so Tommy innovation or ach yeah, like never creeping me. I was like you're not fluent, you kind of, it's like, oh, you finish it, and then it's just like, oh, tá a lá over le denna fásta gom, you know, like sin tús ach níl sé an be all agus end all, as I say, as Gaeilge.
Ceist eile a gomdíobh mar sin de. So the bhún mé Gael or drama trí Gaeilge ar féile línte. I used to teach drama through Irish for years and years and years. And I'd go into Gael schools. The kids would have fantastic Irish. And I'd be like, okay, break into groups and you're going to try this, or you're going to try that, or I need you to do this. And every single class, Chucky pasta awan chum, agus deri sé, every class, one child would come and he would say, on féile main of us bear, can we please do this in English? And mushied grev on Gaeilge slice barrier. It was something between them and being creative. Agus kunnig me or me or who scripting it a Scríobh, Dawn a Scríobh. They'd be, oh, it'd be so easy if I could do this in English. And they had that feeling that it was in some way a barrier, which I understand, because I don't know about the rest of you. It's ealíontóirí, you're all artists, and you're all working in the arts. That there can sometimes be that it feels like an extra step to create in Irish. Ar muhíonn sibse go bhfuil sé níos deachara bheith ealaíontóir bheith ildánach to be that creative person as Gaeilge.
Well, I'm not will to Líofa, sure. You know, there's a no made either on swing of August on go, nor will to a gopper. You know, there's always a moment between the thought you have and you think, okay, I have to get that into Irish now, you know, before I launch it out there.
Go ahead, Jan, to Roner.
Sorry, George. Beidir will like lag piog in my nask. I always have Zoom issues now. Yeah, well, Captain like more thought to Foghlaim Changa Nua. Captain go on Cain Darnock no like Aquin Grin. August. So like one of the last things you get in a language is a sense of humor. August, you know, it's my like Tommy daoine and Scríobh trí Gaeilge, you know, just tug me if we dar gur pro-chase on the coding focal like focuistach Scríobh lumsa. It's a very subconscious process. So Scríobh papa like agus fui láthart am scríobh comedies an cuiidismo. I'm writing cartoons at the moment is my main thing. So I'm working on multiple TV shows, writing kids cartoons, and they're all comedies. And a big amount of that, and to process different gach ealíontóirí, everyone's got a different process. This is just maybe me. Is I'm working fast and stuff is just like coming out, and I rely on that a lot. So Dain of like vi mise múntar drámaíochta fáil fresh, and I was teaching drama and facilitating for years as well. So you're leading by example, being very creative, making things up on the moment, just like creating something, jokes. What first thought, best thought, kind of like you're riffing with the kids. And I can't do any of that. But I think in the bigger picture, being bilingual is such a benefit to you as an artist, such a benefit. And it's touching níos dúláni, I don't know, it's more challenging for me to write something in Irish. But like, who said everything was easy? Like, I find writing things easy now because I've been at it for years. Má bíime cainteanna d'agóirí duine tús an aistear scríobh nóireachta. If I'm talking about the beginning of their writing journey, I'll always be like, get them drafts finished. It's going to be ugly. They an céad drámaíocht fásta, gach an. Do you know what I mean? Your first draft's always awful. And then you get back, it's scríobh an rud is tábhacht, you just have to rewrite. So like, whatever confidence I have in my art was broken on the back of just hours of doing it, right? And I've got to do that again in Irish. But like, sure, what else would you be doing? That's part of the thing. If you enjoy the language and you're like, okay, so I'm not as funny in Irish now, or I'm not as creative in Irish as I would like to be, because I didn't go to a Gaeilge school where you're chatting with your friends and you're kind of riffing, and like, I'm like, okay, so that's fine. One of my language, that's how most people in the world experience the world. That's how any immigrant to an English-speaking country experiences English. They're like, not as funny as I am in Arabic, but I'm funny enough, and you're learning. But again, it's like, it's not necessarily easy, but there are small wins. And having said that, I have great crack in Irish. I just know that like, I talk very fast. And I like just whip out stuff, and I like wordplay, and I haven't got that in Irish yet, but I can sit down and consciously say, I'm going to try and write something in Irish, and I'll write something great. It'll just be, it's a bit more, it doesn't come as easily.
It's funny, because I mean, I wouldn't be able to, and I don't think at my end point will not be delivering workshops in Irish or anything like that. I don't think I would want to, I don't think I would have the nationalists to do it. But even before I kind of had the grow to learn again, or to kind of learn it properly, or to engage with it properly, I've always wanted to direct the show in Irish without knowing it, because I think there's a very interesting. I used to work in an opera years ago, and I just love the distance that actually not being comfortable with the language gives you as a director. That you have to actually, so it's like, a lot of time in English, particularly in classic plays, it becomes all about the bloody play and all about the words and all about the way you say the words, and you forget the whole world of it, you forget the whole musicality of it. So that's kind of the closest I got to it was actually with Roxanna, when she had 4 or 5 lines, and when we did a bilingual play, and that was great, But I think thankfully it was Irish gauge towards 5th and 6th class, or 4th and 5th class, so it wasn't there. Even I could understand that, but I do think there's difference being creative in it. Myself, outwardly, absolutely not, but being creative with it, I think yes.
Well, can we digiteach Dara? We're coming to the end of this. If you're watching this now on Facebook or YouTube, this was just pre-recorded only an hour ago, just for scheduling reasons. So we can't unfortunately respond to any comments or messages below, but you can still be part of the conversation. Do put them in, and I will respond in text as Access Ballymun to any questions that come in, and you can still be part of the conversation. So tomorrow, Friday the 26th, if I have my dates right, we will be having our last of our artist Curricle Cora at 1 o'clock via Zoom. Everybody is welcome. It's not broadcast. You don't need to have perfect Irish. It is a space for people who love the arts, creating the arts, to get together to talk and to use any Irish that you do have. So there's absolutely no pressure. We'll also have another conversation tomorrow night where we'll be joined by Sean Dunn and the fantastic Zoe Ní Mhuirí. And then Saturday night, we're going to have a digital crash test count, which is going to be a lot of fun, and we hope to have everybody there. Scríobh has been about trying to connect Irish speakers, Irish artists, Irish creators, and just to shine a light on artists that you didn't know. So we really appreciate everybody who has been with us today. Gurv Mila Mahagwe Sin. So Kesh Dara Lion Panel before we end this, and that is just what's next. What do we do next? Are you hoping to use your Irish for any new project? Are you working on any new project? Or are you just hoping to use your Irish just for yourself? Céirde on Céad Goal. Dumhain, me and Gaeilge I've never really properly got into that zone of reading in Irish. I found it very, very hard because I find that stop-start of I have to look up a word. And much as it really helps my vocabulary, I find it hard. So to rate a rare, and if you haven't seen it, you should check it out. Hashtag Access Loves Theatre with Aoife's Blan Hinks from last night. It is on our YouTube and our Facebook page. Fantastic conversation about the theatre that we love that was in Irish, but they brought up cruinnithec. So Tashi Shina Gum Sohalia Oswelga near Láimhe Rive. I've never read it. I'm going to read cruinnithec. That's my personal goal. But what's everybody else's goal?
To use it every day. When my trail got law, you know, better not will say to the dinner rag, you know, or all the meaning. But yeah, I want to use it more. So I've started to anyone that I'm talking to that has Irish, I'll try and talk Irish to them. You know.
Roxanna cared food set. Oh, to Ronan, Joey. Go for it.
So I was like, I think on ealíontóirí, like on spatial, like I really liked watching how Irish is evolving through the internet, even just through silly memes on Twitter and on Instagram, which I really like get a big kick out of. The memes have been kind of keeping me through the darker times of the last year. But like, so there's like really niche things that like, so I love watching RuPaul's Drag Race, and there's this guy who like dubs some of the more iconic scenes from Drag Race, Gaeilge, like Mimi on Cage, like just brilliant stuff. So I think that it's really interesting to see Irish get a foothold through the internet, because I think, as we touched on earlier on, there's sort of a gap, I suppose, in its evolution. It did get a little bit frozen in time when it fell out of usage here. So it's really fascinating to see it spiral in these new zany sort of millennial Gen Z directions, and I think it's a great way to kind of test the waters as well. Like, there are people who are like tweet all Gaeilge, and you can run your sentences through Google Translate and make sure they're correct before you put anything up there, and hopefully get some response as well. So I think, like, I'd love to be while I'm frastal air Curricle Cora IRL Galua. I hope that we'll be able to be Arash and Ericlan. But in the meantime, I think the internet is there's some great resources and some really great people, like what's Unaming Kavanagh, and like kind of breaking down Irish on TikTok, and I think it's really exciting to see. And I think someone mentioned that like Irish is like climbing the charts on Duolingo, and it's one of the most popular languages on Duolingo now. So it's great to see such an appetite, and I think the internet has a really interesting role to play in that.
Speaking of Duolingo, my thing is to try and get a longest winning streak, or the longest daily streak as I possibly can. But also what's really been fascinating, and this is back to Roxanna again, is over the last 2 days, I open my Twitter now and kind of go, oh, what's that mean? And how do I respond to that? Tweet after tagging me. So I'm kind of going to be ringing after going, is that a good thing or a so no, I think it is that. And I would agree fundamentally with Joey. I mean, I think for me, that spends quite a lot of time professionally on social media, I think it's a great buzz to see the language being used, and particularly in response to Shukra, you know, yeah, I think there's a lot more to come out of that piece, because I do think it's kind of captured something that bilingual always meant to me that Irish people had to do it as a cop-out for the poor people like me who couldn't really understand it. But the fact is that work like that and other work is kind of, there's a confidence in the bilingual. It won't damage the Irish language. Do you know what I mean? Like it's like teaching, you know, because the arts has had that for years. Like, you know, if kind of people from certain areas learn how to do stuff, it'll kind of damage the important stuff. You know, that's all that outreachy stuff over there. It's not real. So I think it's kind of nice to see that the Irish language can kind of stand in confidence and kind of go, yeah, I'll throw a few words of English in there, but it's bilingual on our terms.
Sian, Curtfita.
Okay, I'm going to take a big swing. Well, actually, to go spricagum, right? So more like, Kai make plug again, if I got to do a bit of a plug, Mark, is co-store or mission than our Colloch Airclin is Superpower. So I am part of Superpower, who have done a Access to Gaeilge residency. We produced a podcast for young people, which does basically, it's exactly that, Mark. It's bilingualism on our terms. So the first Strahain was Trí Béarla an Dara Stravishe Gohyanguk August Kukla Kian Lon Gaeilge we had bilingual and then fully Irish podcast. They on Triu Keen Kian and Triu Stra I Béarla August Polanish. Martha Simu Agwin Egg Sulok Changa August Changa Ella. So we're like all the languages in Ireland. So Bainwich egg upper I janka le céile le féile eile agus ealíontóirí ón Foghlaim chun ceardlin a Ferbert trí Gaeilge agus trí Polanish agus rudí mar sin. So we're doing a lot of stuff with that. And again, it's bilingual. The idea is playing with language with kids and getting them to use their native languages. So I think with Superpower, we want to explore that space of the culture of bilingualism, but then may fain, right? Tom Maconi and Ain, I live on my own, right? So to long downtime ago, right? So Tom Egg Bint used us on the English all come like, you know, like big bat Ain of air Muckly Gaeilge, so Tom McDain of on Cursa Crinnis, ag Oberle Moon Tor fresh until Tutor Agam, Motherle Scríobh Nora. Agus óhéh ma pust de bawatlam sa tauki the ag scríobh Ross na Rún. That's something I want to do. I want to write on Ross na Rún at some point, right? Just get in there. I want to write something for Bernie. I want to write something for Vince. I want to get up in it, right? So yeah, I think that like I'm starting off in television. My background's in theatre, but I've moved more into television at the moment, and I'm working with loads of writers, even though I'm working with them in English, who have Irish and write for Irish TV. So I'm like trying to learn how to spell at that point, you know, and just say in a year or two's time I want to be like Ross na Rún, would you let me in? Because I love you.
I love that goal. You definitely need to check out the Access Loves Theatre from last night. They mentioned how important the representation of Polish language work is for children, and they also talked about writing for Ross na Rún. So,
really?
Before you, Roxanna, your big follow-up. What's your next Irish language goal?
Difficult second album. Bhí plan agam drama a dhéanamh le níos mór aithne go ar Anya Ní Léiriú is asar empathy agus tá Gaeilge is like Gaeilge or líthi like dáisí suas ag leabhar as Gaeilge le feann agus bhí mar kind of ag obair ar rud and Faith was two-hander Bunahir Don scríobh me as Béarla actually it really lends itself to Irish na téime of young freshen so rih an pandéime hustamid ag kind of chord ag an le céile agus an sin hitch gachord as a céile agus so Beidir like nar hustig me le siúchar ní raibh me cínta cad raibh me éirí rá agus an sin nor firme like fós ceapan gohfuil like na téime atá ag siúchar like it's too say shin ceapan like I haven't finished exploring a lot of those things and like that like I was saying that shame that's attached to to it. Like, you know, people get so defensive. Like, it's not defensive that they can't speak Irish. They get defensive that you are speaking Irish, and it comes across as like rude, but like we have to like explore that and investigate that. And so yeah, I mean, I'm pretty like I don't know if I'm ready to jump straight into something else. But an rudder will dúirt pat sin we just ag leabhar fiú gan gach lá tá mé sé ag déanamh an sin freisin aon duine a bhfuil is a go bhfuil Gaeilge acu tá mé ag leabhart lá beagán as Gaeilge even agus yeah, mar dúirt Joey ag leanúint na leathanach sin Gaeilge atá granver maar like tá sé éasca just bheith kind of fáisiún like to be so philosophical with the language. Okay, yeah, like tá cúntas Gaeilge.
Oh, it's brawling on cúntas show, yeah.
On grammar, like rinne sé like wap as Gaeilge fashion like rap Cardi B agus Megan Thee Stallion as Gaeilge agus like tá na wigs there agus mar sin agus just even na already sin agus there's Sean fresh like a Scríobh agus leis antanga agus like kind of engaging leis na daoine sin agus ag buinteach I might use them buinteach properly like what's buinteach mean?
Yeah, well, yeah. To like achieve or like to you know the character of buinteach to like to get your rights or to you know put your in
kind of like try and find your community and as a couple like nailmeet in like we might never live in a street where I mean I'd love to where it's just Gaeilge, but whether it's online or it's like you know meeting up in person when we can, like who is our community, you know, and to find your people. Find your
people. We are your people. Like Steve Sherford camera shot a do co-football, it's your community, and I would encourage anybody who's watching this at home who's interested in getting involved in Irish language arts, get in touch with us. That's what Scríobh is all about. You can get in touch with us via the Access Ballymun website. All my details are on there. Cumáile sin mas bhfuil tú áitiúil go Ballymun if you're local in Ballymun, just to let you know that there are free Irish language classes taught in the Finglas CD ETB, so it's worth getting in touch with them. There's also a great course that is run in Kilbarrack. There is a fee for that, but it's an excellent course. Gaeilge have great courses and they're doing online courses at the moment. If you're thinking of learning Irish, Duolingo is there, and anybody who's beyond that Ballymun area, I'd encourage you to get in touch with your local ETB, which is your Education and Training Board, as they often do teach Irish language classes, and there's sometimes a very small fee or no fee at all, and it can be a great way to get in, or join your local Circle Cora. Join us tomorrow, Friday the 26th, 1 o'clock for your lunch and your cupante in Gaeilge. Gurb míle maith go gacha aine agus gurb maith go as bet ar an painéal.
Gurb míle maith go.
Oh God.
Oh God.